friends, and welcome to episode 193 of the I Rock Knits podcast. My name is Corey Eichelberger, and I am a full-time knitwear designer and teacher of knitting. And I'm coming to you from Victoria, Minnesota, which is a southwest suburb of Minneapolis and St. Paul. I am excited to be here because I have a couple of new patterns to share with you that came out last week. And I had an amazing interview go up last week with Shayna Lines Designs. Get that right. And so I just wanted to put out a little podcast here and kind of tell you what I've got going on and all kinds of things. I am wearing my Morganite sweater. This was designed by my tech editor, Karine Ferguson. And it came out in Pom Pom magazine in 2013. So it's an older pattern, but I had never knit anything of Corrina's. So back in 2023, I decided that I should really knit up something that she had written just to be, just to be nice. I put these pretty red buttons. I only have 3 buttons at the top. I usually don't button it, but I have been wearing it. It's DK weight. It just, the stitch pattern only goes to just below the bust, and then the rest is stockinette. So it's really lightweight and open and airy, and we've been having some really lovely weather here in Minnesota. And because it's red, I wear it at Valentine's and at Christmas because I don't have a lot of red. And I love the color red. Red was my wedding color. But anyway, it's called Morganite, and it is available on Ravelry as a PDF download, but it was originally published in Pom Pom magazine. We have a Patreon book club coming up here this month. We are discussing the book Twice by Mitch Albom. If you are interested in joining the Patreon community and would like to get in on knit nights once a month or book club once a month, I usually just pick a book, but I think what I'm going to have us do now is have the members that are coming to book club kind of vote on what they want to read next. I try to pick shorter books so that it is, kind of available for everyone. But that'll be February 24th. So next Tuesday, a week from when this comes out, if you are a Patreon member and have read the book twice or would like to join us. I always record them so you can watch them afterwards. I put them up in the Patreon group. So yeah, join us. And then I haven't set March Knit Night yet. I just need to get that on my calendar. But things have been a little crazy here for me as far as like being really slow for teaching. Like I'm not getting hired, which is kind of a bummer. Yarn Fest was canceled. I got turned down for Wisconsin Sheep and Wool, which I was really bummed about because I really did like going over there because I could just drive and, it's only about a 4.5 hour drive for me, but they had a ton of people, apply. And then I got turned down for another one too. Anyway, so it's kind of, my teaching is really slow right now. Like I'm busy every weekend and I don't have a lot of gigs out there, so I am getting some design work done. But anyway, I've just been in kind of this state of, I went to a retreat, I had a week off. I went to another retreat, I had a week off. And then I was like, okay, February's here. And I looked at my calendar and I was like, there's nothing on it as far as teaching goes, really. I am teaching some stuff locally to some local knitters. But other than that, yeah, things have been pretty slow. I did put out 2 patterns last week. I'm not sure why I chose to do 2. I think I thought in the moment when I was writing them down on my list that they were similar and so they should come out at the same time, but they're not at all the same. So you will see here. This is the new Knitwords Dumplin Bag. It says, well, I tied this up. I used some really pretty, shiny shoelaces. But it says knit, yarn, and purl. It has, again, the 5 by 8 inch bottom garter stitch square. Then you pick up around. It really is about the size of an extra large hat, this one. And then, because this one also had words on it, I think I was thinking I could, just put them out in the same pattern. But when I got into it, obviously I can't, because feed the dog, walk the dog, pet the dog, does not fit in the same size as Knit Yarn Purl. These are short words and they could just go around. I could have made this one bigger, I guess. I just didn't. So you could add more words to this one. But anyway, I just think this turned out so cute. This is a companion to my Knitwords hat and cowl if you are a dog lover, as I am. It says feed the dog, walk the dog, pet the dog, with the heart, the little paw print, and the bone. And I took a picture with my little stuffed Bernedoodle, who looks kind of angry, but he's not. He's just a cutie patootie. So anyway, I knit this one with brown sheep wool, and it is a sport weight. So it, then I do the casings double knit so that I do them in 2 different colors. The inside is yellow and the outside is maroon, because that just makes it easy to knit the front and purl the back. If they're 2 different colors, you can certainly do it in one. And I just used some scrap yarn for the bottom of this one because I wasn't sure, since these come in 50-gram skeins, if the maroon would be enough. And this is just the yarn I had, but if I was going to do it again, I would do the bottom probably in maroon as well. I don't know. I think it's just turned out really cute. It says all the way around. And this is a large interior pocket. So yeah, this is a big interior pocket with extra pockets that I got from Amazon. So this is a much larger bag. I will hold it up here to a sheet of paper. So if this is 8.5 by 11, you know, it's quite large. I can get many skeins of yarn in here, in this one. And I can get a couple and a project in this one. So yeah, now we have 11 bags that, 11 bags that have come out. One is the twice shirred sheep bag. So that one is not available as part of the collection. And so these 2 are going to add and make the collection be 13 bags instead of 12 bags because I just wasn't thinking at all. And I thought that these both needed to come out at the same time, and I could have probably split them up. But so there are 3 bags left: March, April, and May. I have all the designs ready. The March bag just went to the testers. The April bag is going into the tech editor, and then I just have 1 more to knit up. So those will all be done. If you haven't become a dumpling bag devotee yet, and you haven't bought the entire collection of all 13 bags for the price of just a couple dollars per bag, you can still go over and do that at any time. These have not been as popular as I thought they might be. I thought people might want to knit up a little bag for themselves or for their children, grandchildren, daughters to put makeup in. I don't know, something. But yeah, they're just not selling at all. At all. The collection sold right away. The collection sold, and people have really liked seeing what they are. I think the surprises. But now when I put one out, I make like 1 sale or 2. It's just not, it isn't becoming of value to me at all. So I won't make more. I don't think I like doing them. I think they're quick and easy and fun, and I like carrying them. I have them all stacked right here in a little, here, I'll show you. So I'm all stacked on a little stand, and then I have the extras hanging in this. I couldn't decide how I wanted to make this work. So I have kind of 2 organization systems. Okay, I have been then heartily casting things on because when I get done with this, I have not decided how much more design work I'm going to take on through the rest of the year. I just have so many things I would like to knit and like to finish up. And when I'm in the design process, especially a sweater design, I don't have a lot of time for myself. So I just thought I'd show you the 4 things that I have cast on recently. And I did get this new bog bag, and I bought this bar, and this is one of the ones that I gave away last week. So it's an acrylic bar that you could get on Etsy. It goes through the holes and just screws into itself, and then you can hang your yarn on and knit off of it. So it's really, oh, these are really in the way. I should have moved those out of the way because they do kind of flap down. Okay, is that better? All right, I'll try that again. So you can hang your balls on here, and then they just roll off. So it works really nicely. This is a very large bag. They do come in a smaller size. I just feel like we knit at a restaurant a lot, and I don't like to set my project bags on the floor there. And so I find it easier to just carry this with all of my projects in it. So this is my Karine Hat. It is a kind of a floral snowflake-ish design using this gorgeous Surrey alpaca from Fiber MacGyver. This is going to be just glorious. It's going to be really fun to have, and I think it will become my new walking outside hat because I think it'll be lovely and warm. Then I've gotten quite a bit further on my Campfire Tee. I am copying the designer's color palette. I just love this. These are, you know, some of my favorite bright colors. It is a cotton yarn. It's Wool in the Gang cotton. So it looks like this. And I just went out and bought the colors that she used. So this is the moss green. It's 155 yards to 100 grams. So it's a heavyweight yarn, definitely. So it's knitting up quite quickly. It's just a top-down raglan. However, hers is really oversized, like huge on her. So I am making it with less ease. I'm just making it a much smaller size for the gauge that this is knitting up at, because I just don't want it to be a big baggy short-sleeved t-shirt. But I kind of wanted to have it done for spring, right? I just thought it would be fun to have done. And so since it is knitting up quite quickly, that will be easy to kind of get off the needle. So my husband has to go to Arizona on Wednesday for a summit, CEO summit with two of his bosses or whatever. And he said, do you want to go? And I was like, yes, I want to go. So his airline and room are paid for, and we usually go in January because they sponsor an event. His company sponsors an event, but this year is in Florida, and it was the same week as sweater camp, so I couldn't go. And so usually it's a week earlier. So they do 2 weeks in Arizona and 2 weeks in Florida. They switch off. So we've been to Arizona, and we have friends that are living for the winter down in Arizona. So we're going to go down, and I'm going to see a friend of mine who knits in a knitting group. And she let me know that her friend just bought a yarn store in northern Scottsdale. And she bought all of the yarn from a yarn store that went out of business. That was outside of Scottsdale quite a ways. And it was one that I had taught at before. So they closed, and she bought their inventory. So on Thursday, I think I'll go up to that yarn store. And then on Friday, this group knits at a Panera, and they've always been cordial and nice and been okay with me coming. And I've probably been to that group 3 times now, where they just knit on a Friday afternoon. So when Ross is in his meetings, I will do knitting stuff. And then Friday and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday, we will see our friends that are staying down there and just go out to dinner with them. I'm just going to do some walking outside, although it is nice here and I can walk outside here now. The problem with it being so warm here is that the dog park is melting. And when the dog park melts, it's down a probably 1/4 mile gravel road where the pavement ends, and then you have to go into the parking lot, which is gravel. And then most of the dog park, which is 27 acres, has been covered in snow, but it gets very icy when it melts and freezes. And then when we come out into that gravel parking lot, the dogs get very dirty and the car gets very muddy, which does not make my car husband very happy. So I have not been going to the dog park. And he just said to me, do you want to go for a walk in the neighborhood? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, we could drive down to the field house. It's a little drier over there. And I'm like, well, it's got to be pretty dry on our path here. But he is just like, I don't want to bathe the dog. I don't want to have to wash the car. And he, you know, he does all of our car stuff. He changes the oil, and he was taking the fender off my new truck. I got a new old truck right in January. And we're selling my old truck. And so our friends that live in Arizona are buying mine because they don't care how many miles are on it. And it could easily go for another 100,000, but my husband found one north of Seattle, a little bit newer with hardly any miles on it. So he was tickled. And that's just his thing. It'd be like me going to a yarn convention, like him looking for cars. And when he bought Kiley's new car, so Kiley her car got wrecked. I think I told you guys that, but he drove that for a couple days because he was changing the oil and doing something. I think all of the, like the air filter and stuff. Anyway, because it hadn't been driven since 2018. It's a 2018 and only had 6,000 miles on it. And it had been in heated storage. And he drove that, Plymouth Encore or whatever, and he really liked it. And he said, I should get one of those for driving us around town so we're not driving the big truck everywhere we go. And then I could give my pickup to the kids. And then I would always have access to a pickup. So this week we bought a XT440, something like that. I haven't seen it yet. For a runaround car and for husband to drive back and forth to work, because now that he's back in the office, he often has to go to lunch with people, and he just drives this little 2-seater pickup that is very nice, but you can't take important people to lunch in your little pickup truck. So he thought Stevie, our son-in-law, would really like it, and his car is on its last legs. And then we'll have a smaller car. So currently, I think we own vehicles. Like it's ridiculous. And even the insurance person said, why are you doing all these cars? So I just bought him for Valentine's Day a t-shirt that says, I don't have a car problem, I have a storage problem. And I think that would be a perfect yarn t-shirt, which is why I'm sharing, because don't you think we could all have I don't have a yarn problem, I have a storage problem. But I saw it, and so I ordered it for him. It didn't come for Valentine's, but anyway, it'll be here any day. And let's go on to my next cast on. So I cast on these Luffe mittens. I haven't worked on them one bit because I've been knitting bags, and writing pattern. And now that those are done, so I got this from Fiber MacGyver as well. It does not match my hat at all. And I could have matched my hat, but I didn't think about it in the moment. I bought these at 2 separate events. So I'm going to have pink and red mittens, which have been perfect for Valentine's, and then a purple and white hat. And I should have made one of them in something else. And I may make the mittens in purple and white, or I may make the hat in the pink and the red eventually. And then I'd have a coordinating set. A lot of times I just make hats and mitts because I like them, and then I just gift them at Christmas to all the people in my life. So, and then I cast on this beautiful little lace scarf for my mother. I was thinking about getting it done for Christmas for her. And as you can see, I got really close. Like, how sad is that? You know, I was just like, yeah, you could just knit up this little, it's a tiny little triangular lace scarf. And she loves blue. So I bought this skein when we were in Portland in mid-November, thinking, yeah, you can get that done. Nope, no, I couldn't. So that is cast on. And then I want to cast on another striped pullover. I am just all into the stripes right now. So I want to cast on the Evendoon pullover. It's by Kate Davies, but I am going to copy Michelle of Woolens and Nosh's color palette. It's pink, purple, yellow, white, light pink, dark pink, light purple, dark purple, yellow, and white. It's so cute. I'll put the picture in here. So I wound up all that yarn, and I really want to cast that one on as well. It is superwash merino, and it's a DK weight. So I just, for some reason, I'm thinking I'm going to have all this time to knit when we're in Arizona, because I'm going to knit on the plane, and I'm going to knit all day Thursday and Friday, which is not going to happen. So I probably need to take both sweaters. It's just not going to happen. But anyway, okay. I bought a storage unit. I have yarn displayed all over my house. And I bought this, I'm going to put a picture in, this birdhouse with glass panels. And I had been keeping big skeins of yarn in it. But then at some point, they weren't really accessible because they were up by my fireplace, and I needed to use a couple of the skeins. So I got it down, and I said, just take all this out. You know, it's not super accessible when you want to grab it. It looked cute, but, and then it sat empty. It's been empty for, I don't know, a year, just sitting up there. And I decided that my husband and I have been organizing the basement, that I would put all of my little balls of fingering weight in it. So I had 2 big 2-gallon Ziploc bags of leftover fingering weight yarn that I would like to use for that sea glass tee, that I would like to use for another fisherman's rib blanket. Anyway, so I dumped them all in there, and it looks so cute. So I just thought I'd share that with all of you, because if you're looking for a way to kind of display your yarn, I think I got that at Home Goods. I think that's where I got it. I've had it for a number of years, but you know, they have I have yarn in jars, in big jars, and I just was at Kohl's doing an Amazon return, and they had these big orange jars sitting out, and I have one, so I bought 2 smaller ones, and I thought, okay, I can put yarn in those. And then when I got home, the one was not quite tall enough to put full skeins in, but I had to redo some of my yarn here, because if you have not followed me on Instagram, or you're not on Instagram, and you haven't looked at YouTube recently, I have been doing some really crazy a knitter goes to the Olympics themed videos. So far there are 4 up. Tonight the 5th one will go up. We had some internet trouble on Friday, and we couldn't get logged in, and then it was really erratic. Like our TV was going out, and then our computer, and I don't know. So anyway, I just didn't get one put up on Friday, and it doesn't matter. So I've done 4 days. I'm going to have 5, 6, and 7. I have ideas for 8 and 9. I just have to take the time to go video them, and it takes a lot of time to go out and set up a camera and a tripod to do this. But the first one I did was lighting the Olympic torch, and then the second one I did was moguls, and I made moguls piles of yarn on my stairwell, big piles of yarn. So I had to take yarn off of here and off of my my wine. This wine got caddy over here. Yeah, I'll lift you up and show you. Okay, this is my wine man, but as you can see, there isn't any wine in his legs. There are no wine bottles. That's my light for that I didn't set up. And usually I have a wine glass sitting up there. But I stuck all my bulky weight skeins in there where the wine bottles go. So I took those out. And then when I was putting this stuff all away, putting it all back, I had to kind of rearrange this shelf and stuff. And I decided that I would rather have the mohair be out, because I don't have that much of it, and it'd be nicer to be able to put my hand on it. And so I was looking around, and guess what I found? Another jar. So I put my mohair skeins in this jar and my slub yarn and my boucle yarn, because they're kind of special textures. And I have a couple more in my yarn closet. So I just thought that was kind of fun. This thing is huge, but it's perfectly tall enough for and I had this jar in this basket, and it was empty, and I didn't remember that. I love this basket, but I don't use it very much to carry stuff on right now, because everything's wet on the floor. So when you go to knit in public, which I have done, you know, at both retreats and then at my knitting group. And then there's another little knitting group on Wednesdays. And I just don't want to sit my good basket on the floor. So yeah, I stuck that in a jar too. So I thought, okay, just lay that out and share with people. So right now, from where I'm looking, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jars of yarn, or glassware pieces of yarn. I will try to remember to go and show all of the little sock yarn minis that I have from 2 advents that are in the one big jar. It's so cute. Will I ever knit them up? Oh, so much. Knitting, if I ever retire, right? If I ever retire, maybe someday. Okay, so oh yeah, I have my curling stone here. I had to make a curling stone, so I got my biggest skein of yarn that I already had wound and wrapped it in a Ziploc bag so that it wouldn't get wet on the ice, so I could do my curling video. But yesterday I had to go back to the pond because when one of my videos that's coming out, I made a snow angel on the pond the other day. And when I got home, I had not videoed it correctly. You couldn't see it. And I was really frustrated because there's a big muddy hill to go down to get to the lake. And there's a little public access and it's very narrow. It's between 2 houses and it was melting. And so there was snow, but there were a bunch of leaves because no one's taking care of that area because it's between 2 houses. And so it was just piled high with debris and leaves and stuff. And so I didn't want to go back over there. But I went yesterday to do I had to do 2 little video reshoots, which has taught me to double check my phone before I leave. And so I had to lay down on the ice again, and it has melted. And my whole backside, the sweater and my jeans were soaking wet and ice cold. So I'm out there, and instead of making a snow angel, I'm making a water angel. And I'm thinking, are people that live in any of these houses on this pond looking out their windows and thinking, what is that old lady doing laying on the water when it is this wet and melty? I mean, it's really ridiculous. But then when I talk to people about it in my life, they're like, yeah, that's you. That's what you do. You would totally do that, but it's a little weird. But then they give me ideas for doing more. Like my brother and sister-in-law were here this week, and they had ideas for doing a medal ceremony. And at knitting, someone had an idea for me to go to a big, giant snow hill that's been, you know, people were giving me ideas for what I could do. I'm an extrovert, and I was in drama and acting all the way through high school and college. I never thought of going into it, but I took acting and drama all through college too, even though it was not, I mean, I got a degree in English, so it was part of something I could take, but I have no problem putting myself out there in a weird way. So go over, watch my videos on YouTube and like them on Instagram, okay? Because otherwise I feel like a 65-year-old fool if I'm the only one laughing. When I was sledding down the tiny hill in my backyard yesterday with my tripod set up, I thought to myself, is this crazy? How crazy is this? And then my little sled that is, I don't even know, 20 years old, was from when Kylie was little. I sat in it to come down this hill, and then at the end, it just peeled me off and dumped me into the snow. I was already completely wet on my backside, and then I got dumped into the snow. All that to say, I have been watching a lot of TV. So I've watched the Diane Warren Relentless documentary. So interesting. Go over and watch that. She's the songwriter. And you don't find out right away, and some of you may know, but she has Asperger's and is a brilliant songwriter. She has written songs over the years, but her autism spectrum behaviors, I guess, are very off-putting for some of the people she has worked with, and they call her Relentless over and over again throughout this video. It's really interesting, so definitely worth a watch. It's a couple of episodes, maybe 3 or 4. And so then when I got done with watching that, Relentless, I got another You Might Like This, and so I watched the All I Know So Far, which is the documentary on Pink as well, and also fascinating. Did not know that much about her. 2 children, she takes them on the road, a husband who's super supportive, but was also very involved in his own sport, and is very good at the sport that he does, and her setting up to do her concert at Wembley. Yeah, really good. Highly recommend. And then I started watching Ponies, which is persons of no interest, because Poi, P-O-I, is a person of interest. And these 2 women are in Russia during the 70s. And their husbands are working for the CIA, and their husbands get killed, die, and they're not told the whole truth, these 2 women, so they decide that they can now work for the CIA and become undercover agents. And they're, the one character's super quirky. The other gal is Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones, who I really like, and she's done a lot of different movies besides that, but that's what I remember her from. And these 2 gals are, it's funny, but it's intense. It's a crime they're trying to solve. They're trying not to get caught, but it isn't super realistic, but it's all taking place in the 70s. So the clothing, the hair, the songs, the scenes, it's all done in the past. So quite interesting that they're doing that. Then I started watching Hidden Assets as well, and the Olympics. So I've been just watching a ton of TV. I don't love watching hockey when it's not the U.S., right? Like, I don't want to watch it if it's 2 other teams that I don't know anything about. But otherwise, I have been watching, you know, it was short track last night, which is, they just crash. They all just crash. And yeah, and the figure skating and the ice dancing and cross-country skiing, which I love because we have a gal from Minnesota. I love the stories. I don't feel like they're doing as many stories this year of the background stories of different athletes as they have done in the past. Maybe it's just because I'm missing them. I don't know. I left out all of my items that I got while we were there. And we got these really nice bags. These sweater camp bags. I mean, it's really big. It's huge. It has a pocket. It's really large. But I'm never going to carry this because I have bags I really love that are bright colored and that are huge. And so I will give this away. So in the comments, if you are interested in the sweater camp bag, put that in the comment down below, sweater camp bag. And I will just draw from the comments of people down below this podcast. If you would like to, I'll just ship this out to someone because it's just a shame. It has the strap to hook onto your luggage. It would hold a bunch of stuff. But they give us a bag every year. Every time you go to something, you get a bag. And so when I teach, I often get a bag. I cannot use them all. And I've never used this one. So, you know, it just seems like that would be something that I should probably share with someone. This is the giveaway for patrons for episode 192. I have a package of mini skeins. I have this darling bag, which is so cute, zipper bag. And then I have this really naughty yarn bra. But after I drew the name, I knew that that would not be offensive. So this is going out to Carla Hibbard, who happens to be a friend of mine and the friend of the podcast. And then the episode 193 winner is going to get a skein of Malabrigo worsted in one of my favorite colorways, this Rhodesian Ridgeback, as well as a coordinating bag, which has this lovely hook on the top where you can pull it through. And so that's really nice. And then a couple of packages of stitch markers. So I will be sending that one out to Mary Harker. So congratulations to Mary and Carla. I think I have both of your addresses, so I will put those in the audiobooks. I read The Everlasting by Alix E. Harrow. This was supposed to be like a super really popular book, and I really hadn't heard anything about what it was about. Like, it was coming up everywhere, but I didn't know what it was about. So I put it on my hold list, but then when it came, I'm like, oh, I don't even know what this one is about. It was a 2026 award finalist for Best Fantasy. So that helped me right away when I looked at it and was like, okay. Una Everlasting was Dominion's greatest hero, the orphaned girl who became a knight who died for queen and country. Her legend lives on in songs and stories. Centuries later, Owen Mallory, failed soldier, struggling scholar, falls in love with the tale of Una Everlasting. Her story takes him to war, to the archives, and then into the past itself. So there's time travel, and he ends up waking up in the past and meeting this warrior. It's really interesting. It was really good. However, the first 7 hours were slower and world building, which I don't read a lot of novels like this, but that's what I think they say, that they're world building. And then after that, the next 5 to 7 hours become a lot of like, oh, this is why you had to find this out. This is why you found this out. This is what's happening. Because the first part, you're not really jumping around in time, but you're jumping around in the story. And you're like, what is going on? He's back in time. He's met her. And then things, yeah. So you have to suspend your I want to get on with the story, like the action. There is action, but you just can tell that there's just a lot of stuff happening that's all going to come together. So I had a friend the other day ask me, they said, it just feels like we're not there. And she said, is it worth it? And I said, it did become worth it. But if you would ask me when I was only halfway, I would have said, no, I give it up. But when you get to the end, then you're like, okay. So take that with a grain of salt. And then I read One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune, who I really like. I have another one on hold by her now, and this was really good. Alice lives behind a lens. As a photographer, she's most comfortable on the sidelines. Lately, she's been itching for something more. When her nan falls and breaks her hip and is doing recovery, Alice decides that they should go to the lake for the summer. And there is a cottage on the lake that their family has used for years that this gentleman is trying to sell. But when they get there, there's a guy on the lake in a big yellow speedboat, and she thinks he's a total jerk. So this does have some romance in it between the two of them. It is, enemies to lovers situation. I guess that's what they would call it. As a romance novel. But the relationship she has with her grandmother is lovely, and they and that she's going through a struggle in her life and struggling to figure out what she wants to do and where she wants to be, and that she's not happy in the career and the way her career is progressing. And so you're really hoping that she can kind of make a change, get some things together, and going away for the summer. And then it all hinges on this picture she took when she was sitting on a dock when she was 17 years old. So yeah, it was really good. I liked it a lot. It was 12 hours and it went really quickly. And then I read A Fever in the Heartland by Timothy Egan. The subtitle is The Ku Klux Klan's Plot to Take Over America and the Woman Who Stopped Them. This is by Timothy Egan. It is a nonfiction novel that taught me so much, and much of which I did not want to learn. But then that definitely comes from a place of real privilege, right? I did not know that the KKK started in Indiana, and that's where a lot of the original membership came from, and that's where the head of the KKK was, and he was a crazy man. And a lot of this novel, ironically, is based on things that are happening today. And I can't believe that we picked a book in May to read in February where things were happening simultaneously with what was going on here in Minneapolis. Like, it was just so strange to be reading about, you know, people of color and people who are Jewish and how they were being treated back then, and how they were being just abused and tortured, and everyone was a member of the KKK, children and women, and they had parades. And so we had our book club on Monday, the one that I run that is housed at my church, and we did not have a lot of people show up, and I think it was because the book was heavy and hard, but everyone in the room, which it was still, you know, it's still a large number of people, all were so glad that they read it and felt like they had learned so much, and that things that had happened that they were unaware of. A couple of people talked about their family members from the past, them hearing about them being members of the KKK. It really is just so good as far as him being a journalist and writing great nonfiction. So the first half is kind of the history, but told in more of a novel form. And then the second half is what happens to this woman, and how she is mistreated by the head of the KKK, and then what happens throughout the court system, and how the KKK is kind of taken down. And so it's just really interesting. If you like nonfiction, or you want to read about something that will teach you a lot on every page, but not a difficult read, you know, like some nonfiction books can be so technical. It's not like that at all. He writes a good sentence. And I listened on audio, and the reader was excellent. You know, it's one of those books that I said, I don't think I could recommend this to anyone, but I should tell everyone to read it. Does that make sense? Okay. I think that's all I have for you this week. We're going to go take a quick walk outside with the dog and get just some outside fresh air time. And then I took out chicken dumplings for supper because we had made a giant pot of it, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. I eat the dumplings that I make. The husband, not so much. He doesn't love them. He'd rather have crackers, saltines in his chicken soup. But anyway, we're going to heat that up for supper so I don't have to cook. And then I'll probably sit down to watch the Olympics again and finish knitting the casings on the March bag because I need to finish those up. And it was wet because I blocked all the pieces, then I sewed them together. And so yeah, that's what I'm going to do tonight, and I will edit this tomorrow and it will go up. So thanks so much for watching. If you have not subscribed, would you please subscribe? I got a few more subscribers after asking last time. I had a few more pattern sales. I could really use that boost a little bit, especially right now since I have no teaching in February or March right now. I have one sitting out there in April, but yeah, it's really, really slow here. And I think that has a lot to do with what's been going on in our city. But I will see you all in a couple of weeks. where I have a couple of interviews set up to do. I'll be driving down to Winona, Minnesota, and uploading 2 interviews with gals I know down there. So until next time, come in for a big hug. Love you all, and I really appreciate you watching. And yeah, I love getting some feedback from all of you on things that you're knitting, if you are interested in telling me, since I shared 4 of the things that I have cast on recently. So tell me what you've cast on. What are you knitting on? Bye.